To new questions about Hunter Biden's business partners and new visitor logs, which show 7 former associates went to the White House more than 80 times when Joe Biden was vice president. That's a hard list to get on. That's a lot of access to a former VP and now current president. Florida Congressman Greg Steube, member of the House Select Subcommittee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government, and a retired Army Airborne Infantry and JAG officer. Great to have you on the program today. We worked out the snafu and the technology. Okay, 80 times is a lot of access to a VP.
It is. And I can't think of anyone that I've met with 80 times in an official capacity at my official office in Washington, D.C. And the arrogance and the level of the meetings, there wasn't at private places. They were bringing these individuals to the White House. And we know from evidence that Tucker unearthed with Bob Alinsky's testimony that Biden was supposed to get a cut of 10% of their business dealings. And Biden time and time again saying, oh, I had no knowledge of Hunter's business dealings. I never met with anybody. And now we see the actual facts and the arrogance. They just met with these individuals right there at the White House at the VP's office. The American people are smarter than that. They see right through the lies and the deception. And I really hope and pray, and I believe that Comer and the Oversight Committee is going to dig into this so the American people can see once and for all exactly what happened.
How is it that this current president gets away with saying that he didn't know anything about this, and no one on the left, no one says, well, is it your memory? Because if that's the case, your fitness for president might be in question.
You got bigger problems.
Yeah, I mean, that's a bigger overall situation. I don't know how it doesn't go there, though, if in fact they believe him.
Well, the mainstream media is not going to talk about it at all because they are just propaganda for the left and don't want to bring any attention to this. So thankfully, shows like yourself and you are bringing attention to this on Fox, and I think that's important. But the left's not going to say anything because they're so locked into each other and don't want anything to bring down what is the White House and the corruption that is there, that they don't want to say anything to call that into compromise.
Well, it's hard to do when the facts are blaring. I mean, you can't just erase those visitor logs. And 80 times, like you said, you've never experienced anything like that in all the years that you've been in politics. All right, let's get to this. This is a bill that you're getting ready to introduce, or you have introduced, I should say. House Republicans are setting up a vote next week on it. It would keep biological males out of women's and girls' sports at colleges and public schools across America. It comes as the Biden administration is pushing to change Title IX and forbid blanket bans on trans athletes competing in women's sports. A new op-ed says the proposal reverses the intent of the law it enforces. And NCAA swimming champion Riley Gaines with this.
The DEI stuff, it only works if it's in agreement with what they're pushing. These ideas they're pushing, it's not indicative of what the messaging is that they're using. It's manipulative, it's violent. This whole movement, it's vengeful, it's hateful. I've never seen a movement quite like this movement.
High-profile athletes, including soccer star Megan Rapinoe and former WNBA champ Sue Bird, signed a letter opposing the bill. Many Democrats are already signaling they will not vote for it. So what is the fight like on Capitol Hill to get this bill through?
Well, it's taken a couple of years, obviously, and it took us taking control of the House to even get a vote on this, because I think every American should know where their member of Congress sits on this issue. This is an 80% issue. Title IX was created by Congress 50 years ago for women's sports, to allow women to be able to compete with each other at collegiate levels and activities in sports. And this completely does away with what the left has done in attempting to erode that by allowing biological males to compete with women in women's sports. I think every member of Congress, the Americans should know where their member of Congress is on this, and hopefully we'll get a vote on this next week.
You know, having children in sports myself, one of them pretty darn talented, this is something that girls are talking about. She's 13, and I'm hearing about it in her circle. Mom, will I have to compete with boys? You know, Jason Rantz was on our program yesterday. He's LGBT, very open about that, and he said, if they're the same as women, why do we call them trans women? Why don't we just call them women? He said, you don't, because they're not. I thought that was really present and very interesting.
Well, and he's 100% accurate. And the other piece of this, too, is having biological men that are identifying as women in girls' bathrooms, in girls' locker rooms, changing with them, all the things that come with that. The American people don't support that. I'm looking forward to getting this bill passed on the House floor next week.
All right. We'll keep in touch with your team on that. Real quickly, we were talking previously about the president and his gaffes. Just a real quick thought on that.
Every single day, there's some other gaffe. I mean, now is the Easter egg hunt, and pretty much every day. And again, the mainstream media either glosses over it or they don't talk about it. But you know it's really bad when Stephen Colbert is bringing to the point that even he's making fun of the daily gaffes. But the mainstream media is not going to talk about it. But again, it calls into character and fitness his ability as the commander-in-chief to make decisions, to be able to do the things that he's supposed to do as president.
All right. I know you recently had a fall. You were back 100%, looking great. I hope you're feeling great.
Thank you.
Blessings to you and your family, Congressman Steve.
You too.
Stubbe.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Outnumbered after the break.